Hi, this is Sandi Maki, and it's time for a little bit of heavy breathing just before midnight. Wow. All I can say is the world is a really interesting place with a lot of amazing things going on at every single moment, whether we realize it or not. They are still happening. So let me tune you in on something that has been happening. There's a story that I'd like to tell you, and the power is in the story. So, I spent the weekend, this past weekend, at a summit in Kansas City. Had from start to finish an absolutely amazing time. And it's still, I said finished, but it's really not finished because it keeps going and going and going. So, while at this summit in Kansas City, I was able to witness an incredible transformation and or as he put it, stepping into his own shoes that were already there waiting for him by Austin Zalkowski, which some of you may know as the Freedom Skater, who had this idea to think really, really big and create a space for people to know that they can think bigger. So his big thinking thought was if he could think of something that was incredible that he could do himself by way of an example to tell the story to young people, middle-aged people, old people, every person in between, and especially high school and college age people, that entrepreneurship and business ideas, big thinking, it's an option that maybe the system doesn't necessarily identify. And the path isn't always clear or clearly demonstrated. So Austin thought if he could do this thing, then maybe, just maybe, one person or two people or the energy of this whole thing could carry forward into the world, and this could become a viable option that people could see. They could see the way, see the path. Well, he did this thing, the Freedom Skate, and he started it in New York City, and he ended in Santa Monica, California, and he skated 3,400 plus miles on his own legs, on a pair of rollerblades, carrying an American flag. And for the beginning of the trip, yes, he was wearing a cape, so it was a bit of a superhero costume, which is absolutely perfect. Well, at the summit, I got to see Austin deliver the keynote address at the Saturday night dinner, which is really, really a big deal, let me tell you, to a standing ovation in a room full of people with incredible abundance blueprints. Wow. So all of this amazing energy is just clicking around. And then the summit is coming to a close. And Al and I had traveled out to Kansas City with two friends of ours from the Brighton area here, Jody and Austin. And we were dropping Jody and Austin back off at the airport to catch a flight home. And he and I weren't planning on coming back until Monday. And for some reason, this experience was wrapping up, and we got to the airport, we dropped him off and said, I wonder if we should head back. And I said, let me run in and check. So I ran into the airport, and I wasn't quite sure where to go. I didn't know which line could help me, so I chose one. And as I was called up and said, can I help you? I explained that I had a flight home the next day and things changed, and is there anything today that we can get on? And the woman who was helping me was so, so helpful. And she still had her maybe instruction manual next to her, and she was attempting to figure it out. And I said, that's okay, I have time. And at one point she said, okay, I need help. I said, that's okay, I have time. And the young gentleman next to her, and this is Delta Airlines, by the way, wonderful, wonderful people at Delta. The gentleman next to her said, let me help. And he came over to help. And then finally he said, just come over here to his station. So I did. And he's typing away on the computer and I'm waiting. And he's doing some things. And he's like, okay, so yeah, we can make this work. And he walks over to the printer and he comes back and he hands me the tickets, I think. He hands me something. And I take it and I say thank you. And I'm so grateful to him And I express that to him. Then I look at him and I say, "Oh, by the way, what time does the plane leave?" And he said at 5:45. And I said, "Perfect. Thank you." And by now I'm just a wee bit emotional, let me tell you, because it's flowing and I'm seeing it all happen and come together, and really without effort at all, things just clicked into place. Awesome. So the flight is at 5:45. Show up at the airport, get the rental car returned, put everything away, um, get onto the plane, step into our exit row seats uh, on what we later found out was a sold out flight with a waiting list. And I was at the airport 3 hours before the plane left, and yet walked on with exit row seats, and there's a waiting list. This is interesting. Sat down, settled in our seats. Our seatmate joined us. There's 3 in a row. His name was Matt. He and I started a conversation, and that was really, really cool. Matt's a university student at the University of Michigan, heading back from Kansas City from a weekend wedding. We were chatting about school and life and other really kind of cool and interesting things, and it's going pretty well. And then Heine, the flight attendant, gets on the loudspeaker and is sharing that Delta this month is sharing the space of the plane to help raise money for breast cancer research. And his energy is such an amazing juxtaposition to the energy on the flight out to Kansas City, where they were also raising money, yet the message was delivered in such a way that did not even like open the portal of compelling people to open their wallets. And Al and I at that point had looked at each other and said, "Wow, that's interesting. This, I give when I can give, and this energy just really is weird. Doesn't feel like it's givable too." And from in my passenger seat on the plane, I was thinking about how in that position on the plane, I am the passenger. And what I do is like what most people typically do on the plane. You get in and you take your seat and you're pleasant, and you try not to take up too much space because there's a lot of other people on the plane. And in that environment, it's easy to be stressed. It's out of the ordinary. There's lots and lots going on. So I know maybe you're like I am, and that's what you do. So that's what I do. So I witnessed this energy of trying to open this, giving, and it didn't happen. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a passenger on this plane, and I'm not in charge. So what can I do? And I didn't figure that there was much at that moment that I could do, but I'm thinking, I wonder what could be done, because wow, this could be such a different experience, which I've often thought when I've been on an airplane. Most people get in, take their seats, kind of bored and anxious and just waiting while occupying the space on the plane. And I've been thinking every time I fly lately, this is an amazing opportunity to change the world. Where else are there groups of people with really nothing to do, set in the moment, because they're on the plane and we're cut off from technology, we're cut off from our normal day-to-day lives, and we're in this space and we have to be occupying this space. So what if amazingness could enter here? That's a thought. So back to the current plane ride, which is really kind of in the flow, walking into the airport, getting the tickets, no trouble, getting into the airplane, exit row seats, sitting down, meeting an awesome young mind. And then Heine comes on and says, with incredible energy, "We're raising money for breast cancer research. If we can raise $300, I'll do a backflip in the galley, on the plane, while it's in the air, as my way of saying thank you," which was really his way of saying, this is fun, life is good, share if you can. So I reached into my wallet and I opened it, and there was some money. And I looked at Al, and he nodded, and I said, "Great." Then I was like, I wonder if we should tell him we'll match funds. Actually, that was Al's idea. And I was wondering, well, I wonder if we could make this experience in sharing the fun more fun. If we give this and say we'll match, if they raise 150, we'll match it. And then can we get to video the process? So Heine starts making his way back, and by this time I'm thinking this energy is awesome and I'm feeling really good. And we watch him get back to about row 10, and we're sitting in row 14, and he turns around, he goes back up to the plane, and he says, "I've gotten my first $100 bill." And this is awesome because I know now that the backflipping is going to happen, and this is great. So we wait, and he finally gets back to row 14. And I lean over and I say, "So if I drop this in the basket, can I get a couple of backflips? And can we videotape it? Flip cam?" And he says, "Yeah." And is happy and amazed and excited, and wow, this energy is awesome. And he goes back up front and he announces that this is happening and this is awesome. And he still hasn't even gotten midway through the plane. So when all's said and done, you can watch the YouTube video and you can see what has happened here. And what I would like to continue to share with you is that the energy of this story that Heine helped to put into place with his exuberance about this and opening a space for fun in plane rides, I know absolutely shifted the mindset of myself and shifted every single person that was in the plane. Because Matt put it best, our seatmate on the plane, after this experience of a flight that was all said and done going to be about an hour and 20 minutes start to finish. As we're walking in the terminal in Detroit, he looks up and he says, the only problem with that flight was that it had to end. When is the last time you felt that way? That's certainly how I felt. And here's the secret. It doesn't have to end. And it's not going to end. And the reason that it's not going to end is because every single person on that plane now has that story of that experience to share with everyone in their part of the world. Here's the rest of the story. When the plane landed at about 10-ish p.m., maybe 9:45 Detroit time, by the time I got my cell phone out and was on the shuttle back to pick up the car, I texted my friend Dylan. And Dylan is an artist with video. He can take footage, he can take still photos, he can take concepts, and if you just share with him what it is that you're seeing in your mind, then he sees in his mind, and he can make it happen. So I'm texting Dylan in the shuttle, and I say, "Hey Dylan, I'd like to have a press conference at my house. Can you meet me there in 30 minutes by the time I get home? And by the way, I'm about to unabashedly ask you to work all night for me because I would like to give a gift to Heine the way that he gave a gift to all of us. Because I knew that Heine, the flight attendant who had done the flips, wanted to see the video on anything. He said, Facebook this please, or Twitter, and share the story because he was so excited about the cause of bringing people together to raise money for breast cancer research. And he was telling his story with such excitement that one has to be compelled to share back. So I wanted this for Heine. Dylan said yes. And then I looked at Al and I said, "Oh, by the way, Al, yep, I need you to tell the story." And he said yes. So we got some footage together And we explained to Dylan what had happened on the flight, and we told the story so he caught the excitement. I said, Dylan, I need your help. Can you do this? And he said yes. And then he started to tell me the details of what he saw. And I said, Dylan, please just do what you see, and that will be awesome. And I said, any idea on the ETA? And he said, give me 4 to 8 hours. And this was midnight. I said, okay, I'll wait for your call. He called in the morning and he said, I have something ready. You want to come see what it is? So I went to the studio and he started to set it up and say, well, I was getting tired. And I said, Dylan, show me what you've got. And he did. And it is amazing. Dylan's vision of our vision of the story that Heine started to tell, that started way back before we were involved, is brilliant. And now it's on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And the story is growing and growing and growing. So the flight that is so awesome, that wow, wouldn't it be awesome if this didn't have to end? Guess what? It didn't. It's still going and going and going. And I encourage you to think about the story that I'm telling, which is the story that Heine's telling, and the story that Dylan's telling, and the story that Al told, to be captured, to be able to put this together. And now think about your story and begin to share that with the world. The story keeps going. Just wait, there's more. Until next time.